Hello everyone, welcome back to a new series of videos wherein we'll be looking at Fusion CAM and in particular milling. Before we start off, I would like to extend my gratitude in your support to our channel in subscribing and viewing our videos, which allows us to create more such content. Now, to start off with, we have a CAM 1 sample here with us, and we'll see how we can start off with creating a new setup using tool strategies, and then finally creating an NC program. So we'll dive into the manufacturing space, workspace, which we are already in. And we are now having options of milling, turning, additive manufacturing, inspection, fabrication, and utilities. So under the milling workspace, like I said, the three main steps are there. The first step would be the setup. The second step would be to use the various tool strategies and tool paths available to create and remove material. And the third step would be to create an NC program which we can input to the machine and start manufacturing. Okay. So the first step would be setup, top left hand side corner of the ribbon. You can click on that and you will notice Fusion creates a standard workpiece based off of the component. Right? And in the dialog box, we have three tabs: setup, stock, and post process. So under the setup tab, we have options of selecting the machine. For now, we are ignoring, we are not selecting any machine. Probably in the future videos, we'll look into that separately. And for the setup, you can notice milling has been identified by default. And the most important aspect in the setup is work coordinate system. So we have multiple options here again. We have model orientation, Z-axis plane. The simplest option is to select the Z-axis and click on any flat surface. So you can notice the Z is normal to the component, but it's pointing in the downward direction. In vertical milling centers, what we generally need is we need the Z-axis pointing upwards, normal to the component. That is how the orientation is upright. So in this case, the z-axis is downwards. All we can do is flip z-axis and it would become normal and in the right orientation. Now for the x-axis, I would prefer in this case that the x-axis be on the longitudinal direction. So I'll select this direction. So just select any edge and it will change in that direction. Now for the main part of selecting the stock point, we have options here again: model origin, selected point, model box point, and stock box point. So this is where we select the work offset of the component or the raw material in this case. So we have an option of box point. You can notice Fusion populates couple of points on the raw material. So these are the points basically where we take in our work offset. So X center, Y center, or in the corners we can choose. And in this case, we are ideally choosing to have it in the center of the component or the raw material in this case. Okay, and Z on the topmost point. So now moving on to the stock, coming down to the stock, by default, it a raw material has been defined based on the relative size box method, wherein Fusion adds 1 mm of stock on the side and the top. You can change them if you would like. If you would want 10 mm on each side, you can add that. But I personally prefer the fixed size box method, wherein it gives me the model dimensions right below in the dialog box, so I can keep that as a reference and adjust my raw material. Okay, so 100 mm is fine on the x-axis, y-axis 80 mm is good, but in the z-axis I would prefer to have more material, and the component need not be oriented to the center. I would prefer it has an offset from the top of maybe 0.5 mm. Why do I do this? It makes it easier for me to hold the raw material at the bottom in the vise. Okay, so in the first setting, I can ensure I clear out all the excess raw material and I can ensure the part is ready. And in the second setup, all I have to do is flip the part and face off any excess material that is left out without having to do multiple tool operations in the second setting. All right. So final step would be the post process wherein we give it a program name, and for the comment I can just set up as first setup. Okay. And for the WCS offset, by default Fusion assigns a G54 work offset, but if you would like G55 or G56, you can give it an increasing numbers of 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So 1 defines G54, 2 defines G55, 3 defines G56, and so on. Okay. So right now we are ensuring it is G54. So this completes the entire setup portion of the raw material and the component. So in this step, we have reoriented the X, Y, and Z axis to be in the right direction that we need in, and especially the Z axis. It needs to be pointing upwards, normal to the point part. X axis, you can choose how you want it. Secondly, we have defined the raw material size, and we have given the setup a name of 1001. So stay tuned, and for this video we'll end it here, and in the next videos we'll start off with the tool paths and see how we can start to remove material. Thank you.